Yan! Narinig niyo ba ako, guys? Ayan. Live na tayo ulit. Kahapon talaga, hindi ako buwelo hindi maganda yung internet namin. Actually, I'm out on the outskirts of Hanoi. Medyo parang Tagaytay version nila. Dito po yung area namin. Ito yung area kung saan, the French colonizers used to have their vacation home and all. Kaya hindi ganun kaganda yung connections. Ayan, yan. Yan. Yan, medyo malaya tayo sa kabiasnan. Kaya yung kahapon, hindi ako makapag-join. Hindi ko nahabol yung sa Hanoi. I wanted to actually get back to you guys after jogging sa Hanoi. But sobrang tight yung schedule. Yung tipo midnight fly-in, lunchtime, alis ka na naman ng city, etc. So, kahapon, hindi tayo nakahabol. But as you can see, medyo nagba-blush na ako dahil medyo full-time tayo since morning, nagbibigay tayo ng talks dito again with other experts from across the region and beyond dito sa impact ng Russia conflict of Russia-Ukraine war, yung impact ng US-China competition dito sa Southeast Asia. So marami po kaming pinag-usapan kanina. I had my talk on multiple levels trying to discuss ano po maging direksyon ng international relations dito sa region natin. And then of course on ASEAN, South China Sea, West Philippine Sea. So medyo nakabalik tayo dun sa traditional area ko talaga, which is really West Philippine Sea disputes, US-China competition. And we had very good conversation with good friends from the Diplomatic Academy of Vietnam. Discussions also with ambassadors and friends from Cambodia, friends from Germany, among others from Europe who were there. So very interesting. And of course, nag-catch up din kami ni Professor Aris Arugay from University of the Philippines, Diliman. As you may know, of course, I'll be also based in UP Diliman soon. Although sa ibang kolehiyo tayo magtuturo sa graduate school, ako magtuturo sa UP Diliman, God willing soon. So we had to also talk about UP life, teaching, etc. So I am really grateful. Kahit paano, medyo nakapagpahinga din tayo ng konti kahapon kasi nakapag-jog tayo. We were able to go around. So medyo Baguio feels din dito. So greetings din sa inyo guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Obviously guys, as you know, medyo let's say I'm bullish on Vietnam, no? Wag muna tayo pumunta sa mga sensitive na discussion. Nandito pa naman ako. Let me just say that no country is perfect. Obviously, marami pang issue ang Vietnam. Any country in rapid growth, amid rapid growth and transition, has a lot of growth pains, no, that they have to deal with. So hindi ko naman sinabi na perfect country ito. But one of the things that I really admire about Vietnam, guys, is not only resilience. Meron naman tayo yan sa Pilipinas, yung abilidad natin na makapag-adjust sa natural disasters, human rights disasters, tatay style politics. But one thing I really appreciate also about Vietnam is their grit, no? At yung anti-fragility nila, to use a Nassim Taleb way of meaning thriving even amidst times of extreme levels of uncertainty. So kung pansin nyo, sa Vietnam, of course, they have been struggling also with the pandemic. There was a decrease in some productivity. They had to half shut down some of the factories. But, guys, Vietnam has come a long way since the first time I visited Vietnam almost 10 years ago. So the first time I visited Vietnam, nandun ako sa Hanoi, parang tingin ko dito, parang medyo probinsya, maliit lang yung mga kalsada, tapos lahat naka-scooter lang, wala masyadong mga SUVs. This time, pagbalik ko, guys, obviously you can say it's also because of the locations I've been with, but the first thing I noticed, guys, is maraming German cars. Hindi ako nagyayabang, but E-Class Mercedes-Benz na nag-pick up sa atin. Akala ko pa naman, social tayo, etc. Pagdating doon, paglabas ko pa lang na hotel, magja-jog, may Ferrari, may C-Class, dalawa ako nakita ng C-Class Mercedes-Benz, 3 Series, 5 Series BMW. You could see the wealth really, being displayed by a new class dito sa Vietnam. You can see the prosperity all over the place. Although I've been told by my friends na kung pumunta ka sa Saigon or Ho Chi Minh City, you even see more display of wealth and prosperity. The other thing I also noticed with Vietnam is the fact that they're rapidly moving through the hierarchy of production, no? So dun sa tinatawag na value added chain, no, of production. So ayan na. Wala na choking on your own. No? So one of the things na you would notice na dito sa Vietnam is yung VinFast cars, no? Yung VinFast cars, 5 years ago, they were complete non-entity as far as international news or international coverage of automobile industry in Vietnam is concerned. But since yesterday, I was just going around and I said like, wow, ano to mga car na to, di ba? And then I check, oh, VinFast pala to, no? Yung itsura nila parang something between Maserati and Tesla and BMW. I mean, it's incredible, right? They're SUVs, man, and are super nice. And VinFast, just few years, guys, into making gasoline combustion, gasoline diesel slash combustion engine cars. Now they have moved into electric cars, and VinFast of Vietnam is set to produce electric vehicles dyan sa Amerika. So may mga kwento tayo dyan, guys, na mga kabayan natin dyan sa Amerika, tumingin lang ng mga VinFast cars. Yung iba gusto na bumili kasi ang gwapo na itsura, di ba? Ibang itsura. So it's very different from what I used to see in Vietnam 10 years ago when karamihan ay naka-scooter, very few SUVs. Now, they're like SUVs, a lot of SUVs, a lot of German cars, a lot of very nice, posh cars which are made in Vietnam. And like, not only made in Vietnam, but Vietnamese brand, no? I mean, just crazy, this EV. I mean, just look at it, guys. I mean, I know dyan sa Pilipinas, biglang sikat ngayon yung Chinese cars na Geely, which actually looks good. I mean, ibang usapan na, but I mean, come on, guys. I mean, look at this. This is the VinFast VF9 electric car. I mean, look at this, guys. It's gorgeous, right? And then yung mga sedan na meron sila. So, I mean, this is not like Vietnam just having a lot of nice imported cars. This is like Vietnam making their own cars. Ito, diba? Ang mga nag-imbita sa atin dito, mga Alaman din, at kausap natin sila. Syempre, mga Alaman, napakataas ng standards pagdating sa kotse. They create the Audi, BMW, Mercedes-Benz of this world. So, medyo mayabang sila pagdating sa mga ganitong bagay. But at least some of them seem quite impressed, no? And especially yung ability ng Vietnam to rapidly transition into electric vehicle production, posh-looking cars, really almost hitting the upper middle class luxury level. And then, napansin din namin, going outside Hanoi, kasi I mean, medyo nasa resort area na tayo just for some chill moment, for proper in-depth discussion on regional geopolitics. One of the other things that I noticed is that meron electric vehicle charging stations in the middle of nowhere, sa gitna ng daan, ang layo. I mean, imagine mo, like, I don't know, like, somewhere lampas sa Europe, Batangas, and then biglang may mga EV battery charging areas dito, which is incredible. I mean, for a country, guys, na has per capita incomes of similar to the Philippines. And not long ago, Philippines was richer than Vietnam. I mean, not long ago, 2019, right? Really, until recently, Vietnam was poorer than the Philippines in per capita income. So it's really impressive how far Vietnam has come. And as I said, the other thing that is very impressive with Vietnam is that they're moving up the ladder of production, value-added production. So most recently, Apple had an announcement that Apple Watch and hindi lang Apple Watch yata, no, MacBook Pro, and also, yeah, I think Apple Watch, and iPad will be produced in Vietnam, no? I mean, it's incredible. I was thinking maybe India is an area that there could be a lot of shift in terms of production, but now it looks like, yeah, Apple Watch at MacBook. Sorry, this is, and this was apparently the top news, so this is in Vietnamese, Apple Watch and MacBook. This is on Nikkei Asia, actually, lumabas siya, no? So, Vietnam to make Apple Watch and MacBook for first time ever. So, in near future, guys, kung bumili tayo ng mga MacBook, or yung mga may budget dyan, or mga, baka naman, di ba? Baka naman, may gustong bumili ng MacBook para sa atin, di ba? Para hindi tayo itong low budget style na, no? Or Apple Watch, baka naman, di ba? Mamaya, made in Vietnam na yan. Ako nga, pansin nyo ba, guys? Like, if you buy even branded stuff like Armani Exchange or some of the nicer Adidas and Nike stuff, made in Vietnam. Bili ka ng Samsung QLED 4K, I think even 8K. Pag titingnan mo, made in Vietnam. I mean, like, it's crazy. I mean, so what we're seeing here is that as a lot of investors reconsider their investments in China, not getting out of China because China is still very important. They're actually shifting to Vietnam as their fallback option. And then the other thing is that uh, Chinese investors are also moving to Vietnam. So yung tinatawag na Pearl River Delta, dun sa southern China, which is the industrial hub there, now is extending into Vietnam. So there's a lot of manufacturing sectors here which is getting investments, but not only from China, no, or US, also from Korea, from Taiwan, from Japan. So grabe guys, I mean the Vietnamese story, their arc of recovery from more than 20 years of war. I mean, yung giyera pa lang ng Vietnam at US, ang tagal nun. Tapos yung may Third Indochina War pa. Tapos meron pa silang war against the French colonizers, etc. Kanina nga dito sa resort namin, pinuntahan namin yung mga ruins of the French fortresses, etc. Dito sa, ayan na, medyo umulan na kaya. Oops, baka masarap. Hindi tayo makabalik. Mahirap na eh. So, medyo, ito tayo sa mga resort areas, feeling social. Ayan. Kaya Zaddy had to earn that, okay? So, yan. Sorry, medyo magulo yun. Huwag tayo magpa-booking dito. Makita naman na magulo tayo. Pakit yan, pero magulo yan, sabi nila. Ayan na naman. Ayan na naman tayo. No, I mean, guys, and then one of the things I also like with Vietnam very much is how they maintain authenticity of their culture. No? So they're modernizing in terms of the latest technology, latest trends in hotel and restaurant management, HRM. But still, there's this distinct Vietnamese touch. So for instance, last night, habang nagtatrabaho tayo, of course, I was working on an article on Russia's influence in the region and how different countries are dealing with it. So I ordered like Vietnamese tea, and then like, look at it. I mean, just look at the exquisite, this kind of almost wabi-sabi, ikigai Japanese way. I mean, but this is Vietnamese. This is not Japanese. Like everything's so exquisitely done, and everything's so subtle and delicate and well presented, and then there's like this distinct touch, right? Even their water, meron silang version ng mga mahalin na water, of course nilagay natin ng energy yan. But it's Vietnamese, right? Or like they do things like this, you know. I mean, it's just this, you know, this little things they put together, but it's authentically Vietnamese. I mean, it's something you remember. Like you see it somewhere else, like, di ba parang Vietnamese yan? And of course, the food, the Vietnamese food is fantastic. Now, I was talking to some guys here and someone said, yeah, I mean, mga Europeans yan na parang, yeah, but Philippines, parang yung food nyo hindi ganun ka-appreciated. And I said, yun nga eh, kasi hindi natin minamarket yung mga masasarap ng Pinoy food na very healthy. Of course, I'm being Ilocano and biased, yung pinakbet, or you know what I'm saying, or yung mga Bicol Express, or whatever there. Ang nakikita lang nila abroad, yung mga, I don't know, balot, or lechon kawali, or something like that, no? But, you know, it's so, you know, if Vietnam could have made this huge difference in just past 10 years, I mean, why can't the Philippines, right? Which was the biggest economy in Southeast Asia in the 1960s, before best president ever, kind of ruined everything. And before Tata, you know. I mean, if we had managed the pandemic better and didn't have one of the worst economic contractions on earth, right, in 2020, the Philippines could have become now upper middle income country, right? But it is what it is, no? So let's just hope for the best. I mean, going back to this, I mean, the other thing also I noticed that I always liked about Vietnam, I mean, of course, for Europeans, those from the first world where they come in, they're kind of shocked with, you know, seeing like Mercedes-Benz and Ferraris and then like the small alleys and small house and people. But, you know, as a Pinoy, diba, where I see all these slums rising at the same time with skyscrapers and posh areas and all. One of the things I also appreciated with Vietnam is the fact that, you know, even their humble folk, you know, there's an element of affordable housing. There's an element of dignified housing, which goes back dun sa discussion natin, guys, about yung pinag-usapan natin, affordable housing. No, I mean, and of course, that's a legacy of Vietnamese socio-political system. No, again, I mean, it's not a perfect system, etc. But that's my point. And please, lang, let's not make it about authoritarian, democratic, and all of those things. You go to Germany, it's also different, the same thing, socialized housing. You go to Singapore, a very different system, also they have socialized housing, right? So let's not make it about that. It's about really governments that are responsive to people, that they care about the dignity of their people, and that even though you have nouveau riche and all of these posh cars and all coming out, the fact of the matter is still, an average Vietnamese has a better chance of living a dignified life, having a dignified housing, uh, good access to great education. I mean, guys, one of the things that really impressed me also with Vietnam is even though they're still a developing country, a lower middle income country. They used to be low income country for quite some time. They were devastated by war. Vietnam is in top 10 countries in the world in terms of math and sciences literacy of their children. If you look at the learning poverty, the Philippines is more than 90%, Indonesia is more than 50%. Vietnam is like, single digits. You know what I'm saying? Like, so in Vietnam, you see that levels of economic development have not caught up with very high levels of educational development. But the high levels of education development are explaining why Vietnam can rapidly move up. The engineers they create, the scientists they create, the managerial skills they create. So even though hindi sila katulad natin in terms of being able to speak English as well as us, having this cosmopolitan culture, etc. No, I mean, it's interesting. Their education center levels is so high that they can absorb technology and move up the ladder, the supply chain, and move up the value added production, so much so that they're not only making Samsung, QLED, 4K, they're not only making Armani's, Adidas, and Nike. Now they're also gonna make MacBook Pro. They're also gonna make Apple Watch. They're making their own cars, their own brand, VinFast. I mean, like, whoa, that's interesting. Again, no country's perfect. There's still a lot of issues. We can go into that at another time. Rather not now. But come on, guys. I mean, I think Vietnam. I don't want to talk about Singapore as much because there's so much ahead of us. They pulled so much ahead of us in the last 50 years that sometimes it's hard to even relate with Singapore. And Singapore is a city state, right? It's not a full-fledged country like rural, urban dynamics and all. Vietnam has that. And the other thing with Vietnam is you go to the rural areas, road systems, irrigation system, agricultural productivity. I mean, Vietnam is an agricultural superpower. More than 80% of our rice imports are galing sa Vietnam. So again, I'm not saying it's a perfect system, but I'm just saying, like, considering how Vietnam, Indonesia, and Philippines are similar levels of per capita income, it's incredible how Vietnam is so much ahead despite years and decades of war in terms of educational standards, in terms of manufacturing capacity, in terms of agricultural self-sufficiency, and also provision of yung basic dignified housing for the average folk. I mean, you barely can see slums, squatter area dyan sa Hanoi, right? Sa atin, pagbaba pa lang ng aeroplano, kitang-kita mo na, di ba? And at the same time, on the other side, you see all these posh places in BGC and Makati, $1,000,000 condominiums, etc. So, inequality is a problem all around the world, sure. But sa Philippines, medyo next level inequality natin, di ba? So, I don't know, that's something that I always found interesting also whenever I visited Vietnam. And I could say Vietnam has steadily progressed, even despite the pandemic, even despite the huge hit that a lot of restaurants and all took. You can still see this country is on the move upwards. And you can imagine in 5 to 10 years, Vietnam will be what Korea was 20 years ago. And by the middle of the century, Vietnam will be something like what we look at Korea right now, no? I won't be surprised even in the culture, in arts, etc. They'll keep on moving up. So, yun lang sa akin. I mean, and they also have population management policy that makes sure na hindi out of control yung population situation. So, I don't know. I mean, let's see. I mean, for me, one of the things that I noticed with Vietnam is that the people in the government, outside government, the young, the older generation, everyone is so eager to learn. Everyone is so eager to learn lessons from abroad. They're so eager to interact with people from all around the world. Learn the best lessons. Yun ang gustong-gusto ko sa mga Vietnamese. They're open there. They take down notes. They're willing to learn the best lessons. They're constantly committed to improving themselves and their country, no? And there are lots of Vietnamese who study abroad na friends ko and ngayon bumalik at nagtatrabaho dito sa bansa nila and raising their families, etc. A lot of them are in Australia and US nag-aral or UK, Cambridge nag-aral, but they're all here and contributing to their country's development. So yun lang. I mean, yun. Now, speaking of the Philippines, of course, we're keeping in touch dun sa mga sitwasyon dito sa Pilipinas. I know, interestingly, over the past 2 days, mukhang nagtatrending na naman si Leni Robredo. Just, remember, our previous meta proper was really on the two VPs, strong VPs we have had, both women, back to back, from Leni Robredo to Sara Duterte. But of course, something that has been really catching a lot of attention is itong budget ng vice presidency, which has significantly increased this year and even more next year. And then, I mean, look at this, guys. Look at these numbers, no? Makikita niyo na napaka-pitsugin lang yung numbers na yung budget ni Leni Robredo compared dun sa budget na mangyari ngayon dito sa bagong vice president. So, people say vice presidents are spare tire. Well, they're spare tire if you marginalize them. But if you give them good budget, imagine how much Leni Robredo would have been able to deliver, even more than she was able to. I mean, Leni Robredo was consistently the most accountable, or among the most accountable government officials when she was in power. But imagine if she had more resources, not only accountability, but in terms of projects that she could have done. Imagine how much. So this is the budget breakdown that we have. So in 2017, ang budget ni Leni Robredo was 428 million pesos. In 2018, ang budget ni Leni Robredo was 543 million. In 2019, was 663 million. 2020, it was 669. The highest it achieved was around 900 million. Now, that's 2021 sa gitna ng pandemya. So it's not like she didn't have budget or whatsoever. But but next year, ang maging budget ni Sara Duterte, our vice president, will be 2 billion, almost 300 million, 2.3 billion, right? Wow, I mean, that's quite something. I mean, pag pinagsama mo yung budget ni Leni ng 2017 and 2018 and 2019, and 2020, in fact, first 4 years, ito yung almost maging budget next year nung vice president natin. So the vice president next year, current vice president, will have a budget that is almost as big as the combined budget of Leni Robredo in her first 3 to 4 years. I mean, that's a lot, guys. So when people make judgments or assessments about how Leni Robredo has been efficient or inefficient, ano ang bag niya, etc., remember she had very limited budget compared to what she could have had. So, obviously, if talagang on good terms, ang siguro ang VP at Presidente, you can give billion pesos budget, which is something Leni really never had. I mean, like she had as low as 400 million pesos, right? In 2017, base dito sa figures na meron tayo. Again, I have to double check it again, but I can post it down there. So obviously, kung ang budget may 400 million, what you can achieve, even if you're the cleanest, best, smartest person, ay incomparable to what you can achieve with 2.3 billion, right? Pesos, right? So that's the thing, when we make judgments about, anong ambag nito? Magaling bang leader na to? Anong ginawa niya? Ganyan. Una-una, titignan mo, may budget pa yan. Binigyan ba na ng kapasidad yan? Meron bang mandato yan? Ano bang jurisdiction niya? Di ba? Kaya nga, marami dyan natuwan-tuwa kay Leni because even though napakalimitado yung kanyang budget, she was able to really achieve a lot. Just 400 million, 500 million compared to 2.3 billion na kukunin ng VP office base dun some of the numbers that we're seeing next year. So, 2.29, right? I mean, that's... again, ito yung from TV Patrol. You can see, right? Okay. So, let's see. And by the way, guys, come on. Hindi naman ito about being bitter or partisan and all. As I said the other day, kudos to Vice President Sara Duterte for also, I think, doing a good job of going on the ground, coordinating with different people, meeting regional offices ng DepEd, and then really getting into action and making sure na pwede natin buksan ulit, face-to-face, itong mga eskwela natin. I mean, considering how low the levels of vaccination is, that was that was a tricky thing. And yet, in fairness to Sara Duterte, she moved ahead with doing that. So, it's not like I'm saying Lenny's great and the one other one's not, or this one's great. No, no, we're not going down that road. What I'm saying here is you have to first appreciate what Lenny was able to accomplish with very limited budget, with a lot of trolling, with a lot of attacks, a lot of kabastusan from bloggers who have no business of saying anything. I mean, of course, bloggers can say whatever they want, but these are a lot of them were not really bloggers. They were just paid propagandists. So let's just be very honest about that. We're not gonna name names, but you can connect the dots, right? I mean, despite all of those restrictions, all of those negative things, all of those attacks, all of the stress that Lenny was exposed to, she was able to consistently be 4 times, right? 3, 4 times the most accountable, most transparent based on COA assessment, and also get a lot of budget going. And in fairness to Lenny Robredo, kahit tapos ng termino niya, dito sa Angat Buhay, she's running pilots, a dozen pilot projects for education, empowerment ng ating mga youth, education, empowerment of youth, all across the country. So I'm just saying, like, at the end of the day, guys, whether it's Sara Duterte, whether it was Lenny Robredo, whoever, these are our vice presidents. And we have to be proud and we have to respect our female leaders, our strong women leaders, when they're doing fine. I'm just saying, you have to put things into perspective. Now, obviously, ang laki ng budget, magiging budget ng VP office next year. So we hope that that budget will be reflected, that huge budget will be reflected in terms of high levels of efficiency, of delivery of services, and kung ano yung good things, the legacy that Lenny has left, sana itutuloy ni Sara in the best way possible. Not to mention, in fairness naman kay Inday Sara, I mean, her record as a mayor has also won a lot of praise from a lot of people. And as I said, ang hirap yung situation about the DepEd, ang laki ng problema, deep po, malalim po yung problema sa sektor natin ng edukasyon. So let's be also fair to Sara Duterte. Let's give her some time. Let's see where it's going, right? And when she's doing something right, she's doing something brave, she's accessible, she's on the ground, she's meeting people, let's support her. Let's not be partisan, blind haters about it. And the same thing goes about those who attack Lenny. Like, guys, don't forget, napakalimitado yung budget ni Lenny. She was so isolated, she was denigrated, she was cornered, and yet she was able to deliver a lot. So much so that has set a high standard for her successors, including the current vice president. And also, that has inspired her to continue those efforts through what she's doing right now with Angat Buhay. Yun lang sa akin. So when I talk about other countries, Korea, the other month we were talking about, Vietnam, right, etc., I'm not saying it para ma-depress tayo, because I think in the Philippines we can achieve a lot. We have good leaders. And we have good leaders that went wrong and good leaders who can become great. Kaya ang trabaho po natin siguro dito is to encourage the better angels of our leaders and, call a spade kung may mali nangyari. Pero supportahan din natin, wag yung bitter, whether it's to the former vice president who was able to beat, right, a former senator is now the president, wag rin tayong bitter dun sa nanalo ngayon at naging vice natin or presidente natin ngayon, right? Let's focus on how we can move forward as a country. So yun lang sa akin, di ba? I mean, every time I'm abroad, this is what I try to do. Like, saan tayo pwede mag-focus? Anong best lessons that we can learn from countries that are comparable to us? From countries that used to be poorer than us. When I say used to be, like until 2019, where we went wrong, and what are the things that we can do to improve the situation? Umulan na, paano ako bumalik sa ay. Medyo Baguio feels dito, guys. So yun lang naman sa akin, like, what are the lessons we could learn? Ayun nagbe-blush na ako. Medyo pagod na si Zaddy. One of the things I also noticed here in Vietnam, wala silang sentimental attachment to France at all. Kasi parang yung tingin nila sa France ay parang tingin ng maraming Pinoy siguro sa Espanya, which is like a bunch of just exploitative conquistadors who didn't do much for the country. I mean, ibang usapan ni Amerika. But dito rin, guys, pagdating sa pagdating sa Vietnam, there's no sentimental attachment to them. Ano pa yung sasabihin ni Yorme, Nasada, tutong pangalan, bias na naman kayo. Dude, it's biased. Alright? Get that one right. Bias ka, hindi nyo alam ang sabi ng mga thing. It's called biased. And by the way, if you're biased in favor of facts, right? Then that's much better than being biased based on fake news, nonsense, etc. You guys are getting in terms of junk food. I mean, yun ang problema. A lot of bloggers, they're actually just feeding junk food to people. Hatred, resentment, you know. Kung gusto niyo yung basurang ganyan, umalis kayo dito. I don't need you guys, alright? Andito po tayo for people who want to have proper educational experience. I'm here to learn from you guys kung matining sinasabi nyo. And, you know what? Ganito na lang isipin nyo. Yung mga katulad namin, we go all around the world. We talk to experts all around the world. We're respected as experts in our own fields all around the world. Alright, if you guys cannot show any respect, you don't have any business here. Alright, anyway, ano lang ako, pinagtitripan ko lang pang I'm kind of tired, actually, you can notice that. So, again, hopefully tuloy natin tong discussions. I still have PowerPoints to prepare. I still have a lot of things to do. Di pa ako kumain. So, I'll try to catch up. So, let me say thank you so much, guys. Ayan, mga kabayas, ka-antman, kametsa. Yun, talagang itsura ko ngayon. Parang alam mo yung mga guys, yung mga, yun, chop. Yun. Alright. Alright, yan, ayan naman tayo. So, okay. Yan, chop. Ito yung mga Conor McGregor. Chop. Yan tayo. Hindi nyo pa nakita yung mga kicks. Ay, nakita nyo pala yung mga kicks. Yung mga turning. Ganun. Yun. Talagang, guys, subscribe to my channel, ha? Subscribe to my channel. Ayan na naman tayo, nagkakalat na. Ayan na naman si Yorme Arsib. Alam mo, ikaw ang troll, alright? At kung hindi mo maintindihan anong ibig sabihin ng troll, paki-Google yan. Kung hindi mo alam yung Google, bahala ka sa buhay mo, diba? Baka ang Google mo, Facebook at fake news, diba? Ayan tayo. Masarap pagtripan yung mga ganyan, mga walang ambag sa buhay. Alright? Bias. Alis bias. Ayan. Ayan, alam mo, kaya talagang, hindi talaga tayo asenso kung puro mga ganyan ng mga, kaiwanan ng diskusyon natin. Ayan na. Uy, pinansin ko na siya, oh. Feel naman. Uy. Isa feeling ko yung mga iba dyan, papansin lang talaga eh. Ayan, pinansin na kita. Balik ka na sa mga junk food vloggers nyo. Alright. Okay. Looking forward to more discussion, guys. Pakitaan daw ng biceps. Yun nakita nyo, sumasabog na yung natin dyan. Yeah. Naman tayo. Yeah. Natin dyan. Yan. Yeah. Mamaya na yan, mga kabayas. Mga ka-unity. Yeah. Boxer Conor McGregor. Yeah. Wala talaga. Ayan, layas na. Alam mo, masarap guys mag-pick on these trolls once in a while. Tingin kasi nila, tapang-tapang nila pag pinagtripan mo, ayan na. Ay nako. Alam mo, di talaga asenso ang bansa natin. Yung puro mga ganyan basurang commentaries natin at yung mga junk food vloggers. Buti dito, walang ganyan. Okay. Ay nako. Basahin nyo rin yung mga ginawa natin panoorin yung mga vlogs din natin on Korea, etc. So, I'm looking at the number of countries we can learn something from. Alright? Uy, pinansin ko na yung troll. Tuwan-tuwa na siya. Alright. Let me just say thank you to you guys. May mga iba na ayaw magpa-thank you. Pasensya na lang. But, it's just my way of showing my appreciation sa mga tao nagpakita ng support. Thank you kay Zaida, kay Zoe. Thank you so much kay Ma'am Jocelyn, as always. Kay Ma'am Eden. Super thanks for everything. For Mitch, as always. Rovlin. Thank you so much kay Naomi, mga ka-QC, mga Jenny, Katrina, Diego. Thank you so much kay Bong, Ma'am Fanny, Ma'am Victoria. Thank you so much dun sa mga nagbibigay ng support. I mean, it's just my little way of saying thank you for your support and just watching us and commenting and natutuwa. Alright. Okay na. Spam na yan. Hindi pala troll tawag dyan. Spam na tawag dyan. Yung paulit-ulit na Ay, mayroon tayong spammer dyan. Alright guys, magpahinga na ako. And kakain na ako. And catch up tayo. And hopefully hasta Manana, God willing, we'll have more discussions. Alright, catch up tayo sa mga politics natin and all of that. And then, let me also arrange yung mga interviews natin and hopefully we get more interesting people na, we can talk to. And sana next time, kung magta-troll yung iba sa atin, gamitin nyo naman totoong pangalan, gamitin nyo naman yung mukha nyo. Kasi kung wala kayong, if you don't have, I don't want to use the Spanish term, then, alright, you know what I'm saying? Then, get one. Okay. Alright. And, sorry, Lord. Yeah. Alright, thank you so much, guys. Have a good day. Magpa-freshen up naman tayo dyan. Ayan, umulan naman. Vlogger mode. Guys, subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for joining us here. Ay, hindi ko na alam paano pupunta sa dyan. Paano tayo kakain yan? Wala akong umbrella. Ayan tayo. Sige guys. Talk to you guys. God bless. Have a good evening.